we'll start the session, though we're waiting for Dharam to come because this is a joint seminar with the Mumbai Press Club. I'm Sujeta Hinal. I'm a trustee of Moneylife Foundation. And I welcome you to this seminar on getting empowered with RTI. So, my job is just to put this a little in perspective. The point is that all of us work in a changing situation as journalists. So today we have technology. On the other hand, we have a lot of surveillance. So there is a lack of access. While people like me who started 30 years ago had the freedom to go anywhere and meet anyone without having CCTV cameras and security personnel asking for your identity and Aadhaar before letting you in. The one thing that hasn't changed in all these years is access journalism. So even earlier, who you knew made a difference in terms of what story you get, and whether it is the government or the regulators, they control access to news and hence also control journalists. Today it's even PR agencies that are doing that. They control all of us by doling out information in bits and pieces if you are nice to them. What we have discovered in Moneylife over a period of time is that right to information lets you get past this danger of access journalism. And I'm just going to run 5 slides to say how we have used it in Moneylife. We're going to have a discussion. The flow of the program is that I show you these 5 slides. Dharam introduces the speaker. We have the presentation on how to use right to information. We have the last half an hour for an open discussion. We are hoping that others like Samir also join in. And then, of course, you join us for tea and refreshments at 5 o'clock. So we end at 5. Okay? So we used it. Some of you may know that we had this 100 crore defamation suit by the NSC. We got a great stay order, but the big difference was the manner in which we were able to use RTI to keep enormous pressure on the regulator. We've used it really widely for insurance because we find government and regulators are most niggardly with information, but they can't refuse RTI. I'm not going to get into details. We've also used it to nail fraudulent companies. In fact, when we did a survey and we put a lot of pressure on the government, we actually got them to launch some investigations by the Serious Frauds Office thanks to the pressure that we put, mainly through RTI. When it comes to the Reserve Bank of India, they don't like people like us because we say what we want to, and we find that the only way to get information is filing RTI. Our consulting editor, Vinita Deshmukh, has used it most effectively. I think some of you may remember Pratibha Patil wanting to wall up this big piece of land in Pune for her post-retirement home. Most of that stuff has come through RTI. Some of you may know about Vinita Kamte's work. Vinita Kamte and Vinita Deshmukh wrote that book. All the call records and other information that she managed to get from the police was because of RTI. Many activists have been using RTI most effectively, and a lot of times what they find becomes news. All of you have been reporting it. I think today's seminar is to try and tell you that you don't even need to depend on the activists every time. You can do it yourself. You get access to news. These are some of the people who have used RTI for different things. It's not this great silver bullet that as soon as you file an RTI application, you're going to get the information that you want. It requires a bit of skill in terms of how you file the RTI, how you follow it up, sometimes file additional RTI, sometimes file multiple RTI, and that is why you need a proper seminar. Otherwise, as Shailesh will keep telling you, it is a very, very small act. And most of the time people think that they can read it and they send out their first RTIs, they don't get a good response, and they come back and say it doesn't work. So it's my request to you to pay attention because it does work. You need a few tricks and tips, and who better than Shailesh Gandhi to tell you what they are. So with these few words, I'm going to ask Dharam to introduce the speaker at this session and then hand it over to Shailesh Gandhi.
I'm extremely sorry for coming here late because the management committee first meeting was on, tried to wind it up. Thank you, Sujeta, for giving us the program of peace importance. I myself is a sufferer. I don't get information. I haven't applied RTI in my name, but I have friends, who I suggest was ye jara dekh le. I think this program will change that. This program will encourage us to be RTI activists ourselves and find the information that we want to use in our stories and to teach us that we are the best person around. Former information commissioner Gandhi, IITM, right? And very what we call दूध का दूध पानी का पानी करने वाला बंदा है. Empowered those are so empower us today. And I must tell you, the attendance here is very encouraging. Other programs are not so densely popular. We hardly have 10 or 15 people. That is because of Sucheta and your reputation that people have come here to seek knowledge. Should I tell you about Shailesh? I think I assume the best time.
Some youngsters may in the first time.
You know, I will keep it aside. This is the man who, started pursuing RTI immediately after it came into existence. He worked closely with people like Moneylife and the bureaucrats who were in favor of RTI and fought against the bureaucrats who were against and who are still against RTI, who were instrumental in limiting word limit. I mean, they have restrictions on how many questions you ask and 120 words or 130 words, that kind of things the previous government had done, and this government is also up to certain things. This is the man who empowers us, who walks straight into the powers that be the ministries, the officers, and ask them straight questions. Not like us, we question them at press conferences and media meets. Shailesh ji uses RTI, and thanks to him, we have an army of empowered RTI activists. And one more thing I want to stress here is that because of him, genuine people are coming into this field, RTI field. You must have read about, or you must have read about accusations against certain people who pursue RTI, who have actually made RTI their personal fiction that benefits their own cause, not the public cause. So here is a person who is transforming society into something meaningful, valuable, and I would say he is behind the very successful effort that has created a group of people who do not fear when it comes to questioning the authorities. And in this point of time, it is very important for us to use all tools that yield answers. And now I request Shailesh ji, should I ask him to take it? To start the session. Thank you so much.
Fellow citizens of India, we say India is the world's largest democracy. Am I right or am I getting it wrong? Right. When I was in school, I was taught democracy is rule of the people, for the people, by the people. Is that right, or has things changed? Have things changed? Question I'd like to pose before this house is, do we really have rule of the people, for the people, by the people? Come on, younger people, older people. Do you have rule of the people, for the people, by the people? If that is true, then how is it a democracy? Is a question I'd like to pose before all of you. I have what I would call, the reason why we call this the world's largest democracy, we say India is a democracy, is because we have the right to vote and a reasonably good system by which we are able to change parties, change leaders, change governments. Therefore, we call it a democracy since we have elections. Therefore, I call it a defective elective democracy. What we need to do is to convert this to a participatory true democracy in which one citizen, one voice must be heard. And this is what right to information does. The law, believe me, is extremely simple. The first time I heard the words RTI was at Sucheta Dalal's house way back in 2003. Maharashtra had started an act. Someone told me about it and I knew nothing. I went and got a copy of the act from the Churchy Road printing press. Nowadays, of course, you get it on internet all across, and started using it. And when I started using it, I was about 55. Most of you are younger than that age, and you are smarter than I am. Believe me, if you just pay attention for the next 90 minutes, you will know as much as I know about the law. Law is what is written in words. And if you start using the law as an empowered citizen, you are as empowered as me. And I have, incidentally, I mean, some people believe I have an organization, NGO. I have no organization, no NGO. But friends like Sucheta Dalal and others, Moneylife for example, keep giving me help, keep supporting me, and therefore I am able to continue spreading this whole story of RTI. The first freedom transparency law came in Sweden on 2nd December 1766, 250 years back. Other countries largely came in the last century. The United States got its act in 1966. And it's an indicator. Sweden as a democracy is virtually a generation ahead of the United States in terms of human development, in terms of freedoms, in terms of all democratic norms, I would say. And I think it's reasonably because of the fact that transparency was built into the Swedish government and Swedish system. For us, it's early days. Today, over 106 countries have got such a law. This law is known by 3 names worldwide. Access to information, API, freedom of information, FOI, and right to information, RTI. These are synonymous words. Different countries call it differently. Now let's take a look at our own law. Concentrate on this. This is simple English language. You don't need any knowledge of law. And one thing, normally most laws, you're going to refer to various other laws. The RTI Act overrides all earlier laws as far as giving out information is concerned. So you do not need to read any other law. I'm not a lawyer. If I can do it, any one of you can. All you need to do is look at the words, understand them, and move on. Very well. The preamble of an act is very important. It is the heart of the act, as it's called. The preamble of the Indian Constitution starts with "we the people," but we the people say the nation doesn't belong to us, we don't run the nation. This preamble says, whereas the Constitution of India has established democratic republic, and whereas democracy requires an informed citizenry and transparency of information which are vital to its functioning, and also to contain corruption and to hold governments and their instrumentalities accountable to the government. I would like to bring to your attention, most laws in the world do not have reducing corruption as an objective. The Indian law has. And various things governments and others are doing is to increase corruption and to change and to subvert this law. So we must be careful of that. And whereas revelation of information in actual practice is likely to conflict with other public interests, including efficient operation of the government, optimum use of limited fiscal resources, and the preservation of confidentiality of sensitive information. Quite often people say, government can't work if citizens know. If the masters don't know and the servants say, we know better, I think there's something flawed. Citizens have the right to know, and this right to know is embedded in this. When did the right to information come to us as a constitutional right? The day the Constitution of India was made, 26 January 1950. But there was no codification, so we did not have a method of how to access that. And this Right to Information Act in 2005, it started on 12th October 2005, which was Vijayadashmi, a very significant day for India. But Parliament said, we are able to understand that there will be various conflicting interests. And whereas it is necessary to harmonize these conflicting interests while preserving the paramountcy of the democratic ideal, Parliament has harmonized this in this law. Nobody else has to harmonize these. Just follow this law. And this is a law that citizens have to get implemented and government servants have to follow. Most laws are the other way around. Your income tax law, all of the laws. Government passes a law, government servants will get it implemented and we will have to follow that. This is the reverse. For the first time we have a reversal of rules. Now we are talking of right to information. What is information? This is the essence of something that you must understand. The description is given there. Information means any material in any form, including etc., etc., etc. In simple terms, information must exist. What exists is information. Remember, this is right to information, not right to interrogation. A lot of people convert this to a right to interrogation. What is the meaning of this law? If I apply like this, what will happen? Why are there so many potholes in Mumbai? That's not asking for information. Information is what exists on records or exists as a building, as a road, whatever. But it must exist. So when framing an RTI query, it's extremely important to understand that it is not interrogation of the PI. The PI was not expected to get any answers or to give any answers. He is expected to look at the record and give you the information. For example, supposing there is an illegal building which has been built on a plot. You say, you may say that all the officers are looking at this building every day. But if it's not there on record and you say, I want the building plans of so-and-so building or has permission been given, the answer would be there is nothing on record. And that would not be a lie, that would be truthful because he's telling you what the record shows. So just remember this, it's not right to interrogation, it's right to information. This has been misunderstood and misinterpreted by some public information officers and commissioners into saying you can't ask questions, which is a flawed system of looking at it. If it's on the record, it must be given. But as a practical tip, I will tell you, a lot of people will not give you any information if you frame it as a question. So just turn it around. Somebody says, does this law mean like this? Instead of it, say, give me all records that show what the meaning of the law is. If any clarification has been received, give it to me. Frame a query as seeking information on record. Though those who say question marks would eliminate an RTI query are wrong. Remember this. Slowly, maybe 10 years, 15 years down the line, you will be able to educate everyone as to what is transparency all about. Now, who has to give information? The law says public authorities. And public authority is defined as, public authority means any authority or body or institution of self-government established or constituted by or under the Constitution, by any other law made by Parliament, by any other law made by state legislature. The first three effectively cover everything that we normally call government. The municipal corporation, the panchayat, all of these are government as we normally loosely describe it. By notification issued or order made by the appropriate government. This is interesting. If an institution is existing because of a notification specifically made for that, then it's a public authority. For example, a private university, which is deemed university, it becomes a deemed university by virtue of the fact that a notification is issued. Therefore, it's a public authority. NMIMS is a public authority. The case had come before me and I had clearly ruled that because it is established by notification of the government, then it's a public authority. But further it goes and says, and includes any body owned, controlled or substantially financed, non-government organization substantially financed directly or indirectly by funds provided by the appropriate government. As far as NGOs are concerned, there is a joke that Typically, if there is any subsidy scheme, any project, etc., floated by the government, they all say we are eligible. Yes, we fit into this description. If they are told to fit into RTI, they all run away and say, no, the RTI doesn't apply to us. This is common. Everyone likes transparency for others. You should be transparent, I don't need to be transparent. Mumbai Metro One Private Limited. All of you have heard of it? Whose company is it? Louder. Reliance. Okay, he says MMRDA and Reliance. I knew that they had some finance. I had not gone deep. I asked Mumbai Metro One Private Limited for some information on the RTI. They said, we are not a public authority. We are a private company. Mumbai Metro One Private Limited company. So I done a little deeper, just a little bit. And this is what I discovered, my friends. Government has given 780 crore rupees to this project. 780 crore. And 600 crores worth of land free of cost to the project. There. Reliance has put 380 crores in it. Then how is this done? And the equity is 74% Reliance of the French company, 26% government. How is this magic done? This is black magic. How is it done? By using labels. 780 crores of government money is given with two labels. 180 crores is given as equity, 600 crores is given as viability gap funding. To make the project viable, we need to give 600 crores. So, no credit for that. And yet, it's called a Reliance company. When we argued all this before the commission, I had expected Reliance would go into a court to reverse the commission's decision. But I think they decided that it's better to keep quiet and ensure that this information doesn't spread very much. But this is the fate of a number of public-private partnerships, as they are called. It is public gives, private takes. Chief Minister's Relief Fund. What do you think? It should be a public authority or not a public authority? Public authority. When the Act came, I asked for information from the Chief Minister's Relief Fund about the money spent in the previous 2 years. And they said, we are a private trust. Chief Minister's Relief Fund of Maharashtra said, we are a private. I also filed for some information with the Prime Minister's Relief Fund. And they had the same answer. We are a private trust. We are not a public authority under this law. Ultimately, this case went on, and ultimately a decision was given that they are public authorities. The Central Commission as well as Maharashtra Commission made this order. And then I discovered the money being spent out of Chief Minister's Relief Fund, this was about somewhere in 2006 or 7, was used for foreign trips, was used for cocoa competitions, ghazal programs. A lot of press clubs got money from the CM's Relief Fund. And the CM's Relief Fund had given 5 lakh rupees to build 2 toilets in Delhi Press Club. They probably used the word relief and meant a different kind of relief than all of us needed. Next substance, we need to build an atmosphere of transparency. We need to build an atmosphere which says, I will share. What does the right to information really do? It brings out the truth that exists on records. If it exposes some corrupt act, then of course it must be in the public domain. At times, a foolish mistake may be made, people will laugh at you. Just when somebody laughs at you, you correct yourself. In my opinion, the right to information is your best, being transparent is your best thing for correction. When I was coming here, if I picked up a black mark on my cheek, I can't see. But all of you can. One of you might tell me, Mr. Gandhi, you got a black mark here, I probably like it. It gives me an opportunity to improve myself. And that is what it does with government, provided citizens act as monitors of this. What is right to information mean? We understood what is information, we understood who has to give information. But what does right to information mean? Right to information means the right to information accessible under this Act, which is held by or under the control of any public authority and includes the right to inspection of work, documents and reports. Very few people do this. Inspection of documents and files, the people who use the RTI do. But work, this is very significant. If the government visual record says there is no problem with this road, insist on an inspection of the road with a visual engineer, record it, photograph it and make a report, that becomes a record. Similarly, one young chap, he's not here today, my friend Krishna Gupta, 20-year-old guy, in Mira Bhayanga, he asked to inspect the hospital, public hospital. And he inspected the hospital and discovered that equipment which should be there was not there. Some equipment was not functioning and so on and so forth. We can, you and I together can actually change the way the governance and government works. Taking notes, extracts or certified copies of documents or records, which is what is normally done. People take photocopies of records, information from the records and so on. Taking certified samples of material, you can also take samples of material. For example, if a road construction is going on and you think the bitumen is of poor quality, you can take a sample of that, get it tested and prove that something is wrong. You can take a sample of concrete. If you believe food grains are bad in a government go down, you can take a sample of the food grains. Government hospitals, you believe expiry date, drugs are there, take a sample, get it tested, expose things that are wrong. Obtaining information in the form of diskettes, floppies, tapes, etc., etc. CCTV is not mentioned, but do you think CCTV footage can be obtained in RTI, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. You are an expert, my friend. Most important section of the Right to Information Act, the shortest. I am not saying this because I am short, but the truth is the shortest section is the most significant. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Who can have right to information? All citizens of India. Your newspaper or TV channel cannot file an RTI application and get information. If you do and somebody gives it, it's fine. But logically, only citizens of India can get it. It has to be a natural citizen of this nation. Anyone can. Can some information be denied is the issue. He said democracy is ruled of the people, for the people, by the people. I am a firm believer this means every table, tube light, chair in the government belongs to me and to you. Can I take it away? If it belongs to me, can I take it away? Why not? It belongs to me. Because I am in partnership with 125 crore other Indians. But the information in their computers, on their files, in their cupboards belongs to me. And if I get photocopy of that, if the information is given to me, it does not deprive anyone else. So can any information be refused is the question. Subject to the provisions of this Act. Only if the provisions of this Act information has to be denied, will that be denied. No other law will come. Nothing else. Subject to the provisions of this Act, all citizens shall have the right to information. Now, we've done a small quiz, because otherwise if I keep speaking, I feel people go to sleep. If I apply for a water connection, will it be granted to me? It's just seeking information. Speak up, speak up. No. This is a no, this will not give me information. If I apply for a water connection, the PR has to determine. That's not wrong. There is nothing on record saying whether I will get or not. Why does Senapati Bapan Park have many potholes? Is this seeking information?
Yeah.
I want a clarification about section so and so.
No.
Speak up. I keep doing all the speaking. If you speak up, it's useful. Yeah, let's hear a full voice. Can this be done? Taking a sample from a quota. Filing an RT application with Nirav Modi's companies.
Yes. No. Yes.
No.
If the government is a stakeholder.
So no, okay, I can discuss this offline with you. Okay, hard on the RTI Act is section 4. Everyone pays great homage to section 4, but it doesn't In short, it expects government to display all information suo motu. Ideally, why should I even have to ask for information? It's my right. I should be able to get it off the website or somewhere else. But I don't. Just this, my friend was telling me he went to a municipal office and was told finally milta hai. This is standard story incidentally. All of you would have known about it. You go to an office, a normal citizen goes to an office asking for some information or he's filed an application, what's the fate of this? Standard answer is fine milta hai. 50 रुपया दिया तो फाइन मिल जाता है, 200 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड बंदी हो जाएगा, 500 रुपया दिया तो रिकॉर्ड निकाल लिया जाएगा, 1000 रुपया दिया तो फाइल गुम हो जाएगा, और अगर थोड़ा और पैसा दे दिया तो मंत्रालय में आग लग जाएगा. All of this can change. All of this can actually change. The law itself in 4(1)(a) said, maintain all records duly catalogued and indexed in a manner and form which facilitates the right information under this Act, and ensure that all records that are appropriate to be computerized are within a reasonable time and are subject to availability of resources, computerized and connected through a network all over the country on different systems so that access to such records is facilitated. Chief, I want to share with you, 4(1)(a) had been implemented by government nearly 13 years in this October. Almost all offices have computers across the nation. Nowadays we give tablets even to principal school kids. In fact, every letter that is typed on a computer. Most government offices use computers as electric typewriters. They don't use it as a computer. And normally, I don't know if you observe this, a senior person will dictate to someone. And that person will write in shorthand. Then he will go and type. Then he will take a printout. Then he will take the printout back to the Bada Sahab. The Bada Sahab will correct. And then the final print is done. We spend a few thousands of crores of rupees each year on paper, files, the gata, the flap and the dana. Thousands of crores of rupees are spent, and the fate of these files is like this. A comparable amount is spent to create space to keep these files, and a comparable amount to locate these files. Finally, in fact, and this is true, most government offices can't find files. If all this work is done on a computer, and the files are only electronically transferred, no paper files, the world will change. 30% of the corruption of India will go down. This is possible. Efficiency would go up phenomenally. Today, if a file is created in Borivali and has to go to Mantralaya, it has to physically travel to Mantralaya. From there, if it has to go to the Environment Ministry, it has to physically travel to Delhi. This way, in 1 hour, you could have a decision which can go to 10 people and get everyone's approval. This, we are not insisting. You will save money, save trees, become far more efficient. Some people say, no, security ka kya hoga, somebody will change files. If that was the case, my entire banking industry would collapse. Today, my check doesn't travel to another branch. In the good old days, say, if you have an outstation check, it will take a week or maybe 15 days. Today, instantly it's done. And the whole system depends on internet and electronics. Governments can easily operate like that, provided we make a demand. This is more, not just talking to you about RTI, saying let's make this demand. Let's make our government efficient and less corrupt by design. Sections 5 and 6 basically now, okay, fine. I've understood what is right to information, who has to give, I know there's a public authority, but who will actually give me the information? The law says each office of a public authority shall have a public information officer. Every office has to have a public information officer. So I need to only think which office is likely to have this information. Application can be in English, Hindi or local language. Okay, if I send it, do I need to know the name of the PIO? The answer is no. I write to the public information officer, so and so office. And there has to be a PIO and somebody has to receive it. They cannot refuse to receive an RTI application. That's against the law. Application can be filed in English, Hindi or the local language with the application fee of 10 rupees. For Maharashtra government bodies, the simplest way of doing this is to take a 10 rupee court fee stamp and stick it on your paper. Do I need a form? I don't need a form. Any piece of paper is your form. There is a format for Maharashtra which you need to follow, which is extremely simple. Response will probably come in the local language only. Yes, please.
Sir, is there a word limit to filing the RTI application?
Yes. You see, that's given in the rules. The law doesn't specify this. In the rules, Maharashtra government has specified 150 words, and the central government has said the total application should not, leaving your address and name and the PIO's name and address out, should not exceed 500 words. But believe me, that's a lot. If you ask me, I don't really see it as a serious problem. In fact, I had applicants who would file 25-page RTI application. And then it's impossible to figure out what the hell they want. I once remember having such a person as a commissioner, and I said that the peer had also tried to give responses as best as he could, and this guy was unsatisfied. So I said, tell me, what is it you want? He told me in 50 words. And I said, okay. So this word limit, I personally feel is a useful thing. The law doesn't say this, but this is said in the rules made by Maharashtra and so on. An applicant making, most of the information is likely to come in Marathi in Mumbai and in Maharashtra. Some people say, but if I file an application in English, I must get a response in English. That's nonsense. We must learn Marathi. Even if you don't know Marathi, find a friend who knows Marathi. You can't have even one friend who knows Marathi, then I think you should be in Maharashtra. An applicant making request for information shall not be required to give any reason for requesting the information or any other personal details except those that may be necessary for contacting him. The law says this, but does it sound reasonable not having any reason that I say kuch nahi kam, basti karne ka? What do you think?
No.
Why? I say, बिना any कारण हैरान करने का, परेशान करने का, as my CIC commissioner says, extortion करने का, blackmailing करने का. Without any reason, is it okay? It is by information. I own the information. I will not have to give any reasons. If I am asked to give reasons to seek information, tomorrow I will be asked to give reasons to publish a story. Tomorrow I will be asked to take permission before I can put something on TV. And I will be told to seek permission before I speak. When I speak, all this comes under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India. So therefore, any restriction you tell me on my right to information should be restriction which will apply to right to publish and right to speak. So we must not ever allow the government to say, justify why you want it. It is mine, I will have it, the law permits me, the Constitution of India gives me this right. If information is not available, PIO must transfer application in 5 days to the appropriate public authority. The law does not permit the PIO to return the application saying, mere paas nahi hai. But I would again submit that we should do it with responsibility. We should file it with the office that is likely to have it. But at times we will not know. In fact, I'll tell you a classic case of mine. There is a portal, Amritsar. So I asked how many complaints were received, how many were disposed. And I filed an RTI online application to the GAD, General Administration Department. They transferred it to CM's office. CM's office transferred it back to GAD. GAD transferred it to Information Technology Department, and ultimately the answer came from CM's office. So at times they also don't know. But the RTI application cannot be returned to you saying that I don't have the information. It is their responsibility to transfer it to the right office. 7.1 specifies that information is to be provided in 30 days or rejected, giving reasons under section 8 or 9. We saw in section 3, subject to the provisions of this act. The only provision in the RTI Act under which information can be denied is section 8 or 9. 9 talks of copyright. So supposing you ask the censor board to give you a copy of the DVD of the picture Padma, they will not give it to you because it will be infringing on somebody's copyright. Therefore, we will only discuss 8.1, we will not discuss 9. 9 is infringement of copyright. Information to be provided in the form on which it is sought unless it would disproportionately divert resources. You must not seek information which is spread over 200 pages or 500 pages. It should be in a collated form. Or photocopies. You can take a photocopy of a A4 size page for 2 rupees per page. And if you say, collate this and give it to me, they might say, we'll give you 200 pages or 300 pages, or you come and inspect the file and take the information. 30-day period. Quite often there is some misunderstanding of what is a 30-day period. Is it working days, calendar days, how do I count? The law talks of calendar days only. The day you send the RTI application is not day 1, PIO receives RTI application is day 1. Supposing after X days, PIO sends letter asking additional fees, 30-day clock stops. The additional fee, as I said, 2 rupees per page is what they will charge you. So he will send you a letter. Supposing your RTI application has reached the PIO on 1st January. On 10th he sends a letter, the 30-day clock stops. You receive the letter, say on 15th January. You may go and pay the money on 28th January. For all this while, the clock has stopped. You pay the money, the clock starts again. So that becomes the 11th day, the day you pay the money. You may say it's 10 days have gone, but those are 10 days are counted as 0. Therefore, additional fees paid, 30-day clock starts. Information sent after Y days. X plus Y less than or equal to 30 days. In case of a transfer, information must be provided in 35 days because the PIO is allowed 5 days to transfer your RTI application to the right PIO. Let's take this simple thing. If the information is in a different PIO department, the RTI application can be returned. Yes or no? False. Reasons have to be given for seeking information.
No.
PIO must respond in the language which the applicant wants. If the information is confidential, it will not be given.
False.
False. Only subject to the exemptions of section 8.1. If any PIO says this is confidential, this is sensitive, this is in process, he cannot do that. That is not as per the law.
Even if it comes under the official civil.
That also. Only provisions of this law will apply for denying information.
For the fire?
FIR, in fact, that's a
Not
fine.
in fire.
Roughly. Now, okay, we'll come to 8.1. After that, maybe we'll discuss this a little. What it can be, yes sir.
Like in SIPO,
Louder.
in SIPO when we apply for some information, they say what is your locus? I mean, what officially?
Bakwas karte hain. They are doing an illegal act. File an appeal and stick by it and say, sir, there is no such provision in the law. I am going by law. You please go by law. If you expect me to follow the law, you must also follow the law. This is absolute nonsense. Okay. A newspaper can seek information in RTI. False. An individual can. A citizen can. Not a newspaper, not a company, not an organization. Even if you are a reporter, you can file it. You can have the address of your newspaper. But the filing of the RTI application is done by the individual. PIO can demand ₹100 for providing 50 pages of information 40 days after receiving the RTI application. One thing I forgot to tell you is, after 30 days, if the information is provided, no fee can be charged. So this would be false. After 40 days, if he is giving, after 30 days is the limit in which he must give you the information. If he crosses the 30 days, and supposing he gives you information in 40 days, he cannot charge any additional fees. He has to give the information free of cost to you. If the information is with another public authority, the PIO can return the application.
No.
Okay, now we'll go on to section 8.1, the denial of information, which is a very important section to understand. Let's just step back and look at the Constitution of India. Ultimately, all laws, all interpretation must be done keeping the Constitution of India in mind. The Constitution can be amended without a constitutional amendment. Whatever the Constitution says is fine. This great thing today nowadays, हमारा Constitution ये बोलता है, let's use it in RTI also. Article 19(1)(a), RTI is a fundamental right of citizens under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution, which guarantees freedom of speech and expression. Courts have held time and again in India that freedom of speech and expression includes right to publish. Newspapers and media are considered important not so that it provides a business to somebody. They are considered important because they inform citizens. So if somebody who informs me is considered very important, my right to information is obviously at least as par if not higher. Can any restrictions be there? Article 19(2) of the law of the Constitution says the only permissible restrictions are given in Article 19(2), which permits reasonable restrictions in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of the state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency or morality, or in relation to contempt of court, defamation or incitement to an offence. Beyond this, no restriction can be exempted. And Article 8 and Section 8(1) of the law basically puts this in different words. But when interpreting this, if there is any scope for two interpretations, what should we look at Article 19? The RTI doesn't say that, but everything is subject to the Constitution of India. And this is very important. Keep it in mind, Article 19(2), find it anywhere, keep it on your file or wherever you want. This is the exemptions that are permitted. Notwithstanding anything contained in this Act, there shall be no obligation to give any citizen information disclosure of which would prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security, strategic, scientific or economic interests of the state, relation with foreign state, or lead to incitement of an offence. Rafale thing somebody asked me about. Now, the government is saying 8(1)(a) applies to this. They are saying the security of the nation will get compromised. Don't ask me how. I believe it's an absolutely false thing. If there's a good commissioner, he should allow this information to be given. But that's the government's claim. Price of Rafale, if you said details of all the equipment with Rafale, they would, in my opinion, come under this. The army is also under this. If you ask the army and said, give me information about the army formations in India, that would be denied under 8(1)(a). If you asked about something which affected the sovereignty of India, you said the dispute between China and India, the border dispute, I want all the documents, that may affect the sovereignty of India. Relations with foreign state. 8(1)(a) is important, but it should not be overstretched. Quite often government tends to overstretch this and put it wherever they don't want to get, they say security and integrity. I'll give you a simple case like this. There's a Western Ghats ecology was in danger, that was the belief. So government appointed a committee. Commissions and committees are standard way of government of not doing anything. This was done by appointing Dr. Gandhi, one of the very famous environmentalists of the nation. He spent 2 years with the team and spent I don't know how many crore rupees making this report for Western Ghats ecology. The report was submitted, the government at that time did not want to publish it, put it inside the drawer and forgot all about it. In RTI somebody said, I want a copy of the Dr. Gandhi's report. PRO said, 8(1)(a). Actually when he rejects, he must also give some reason as to how it applies. A particular clause applies. He can't just say 8(1)(a), that's not as per the law. But anyway, he said just 8(1)(a). The matter came before me. And I asked the PRO, how is it? Sir, 8(1)(a). But how? Sir, 8(1)(a). So I said, okay, let me help you. Will this disclosure prejudicially affect the sovereignty and integrity of India? He said, no, sir. Will it affect the strategic interests of India? He said, no, sir. Scientific interests? No, sir. Economic interests. Now he realized, wo phas gaya. If he said no to this, he could not have claimed that relations with foreign state or incitement to an offence would be the issue. So he said, yes, sir. What he meant is that certain developmental activities may be stopped, certain mining may be stopped, certain roads may be stopped. In the detailed order, I said they would have to give, and they gave the information. But ask how exemption is applicable. Whether it's a commissioner, whether it's a PIO, ask about it and argue that this is not applicable. Information which has been expressly forbidden to be published by any court of law or tribunal, or the disclosure of which may constitute contempt of court. What sub judice matters can information be given based on this section? Are you aware? How many of you know what is sub judice?
There can be given until it is forbidden by law.
That's right. Sub judice matters, information cannot be denied. A lot of people say sub judice hai to nahi denge, they quote this section. Flawed. They have to show how it has been specifically banned or refused by a court. Or, I mean, implied. For example, if a matter is heard in camera, then everything would probably fall under this clause. C. Information the disclosure of which would cause a breach of privilege of parliament or the state legislature. What kind of information would cause breach of privilege of parliament or state legislature? For example, budget papers. If you said before the budget was placed in parliament, you said give me copies of the budget papers, obviously this would be breach of parliamentary privilege. But again, how do we use this if you think a little carefully? You are all aware commissions of inquiry are set up at the drop of a hat for anything that goes wrong. Others, Gotala, all of you are aware? Yes, nobody here will not know about others Gotala. Because there was a lot of furore, the government then appointed a commission of inquiry to go into the others Gotala. Commissions of Inquiry Act incidentally mentioned that commissions of inquiry must give their reports in 6 months. But these are usually extended, they take 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Liberal took 18 years for a report which nobody knows what to do with. And they spent crores of rupees. Mr. Liberal also got his monthly amount every month for 18 years. But Others Commission gave the report in 2 years' time. Government found it inconvenient, so they put it inside the drawer and forgot all about it. I waited for 7 months and then I filed an RTI application saying I want a copy of the Others Commission report. They said, no, this will be breach of privilege of legislature because we not placed it in the floor of the legislature. I said, sir, as to the Commission's Inquiry Act, you are supposed to put it in legislature within 6 months. You haven't done that, so you breach the privilege of legislature. Now you can't claim that. You already breached that privilege. You can't deny my RTI. The PIO refused, the first appellate authority refused, I went to the Commission. And before my hearing came up, they placed it on the table of legislature and then released the report. Remember, all commissions of inquiry report after 6 months, you can force them to reveal all commissions of inquiry reports. And for journalists in particular, watch out. What has not been proved? After 7 months, fight for it and fight for it. You should get it. D. Information including commercial confidence, trade secret or intellectual property, the disclosure of which would harm the competitor. All the underlining has been done by me. That's not in the law, incidentally. With due apologies, just to highlight something. The disclosure of which would harm the competitive position of the third party. The nature of information should be something that would be claimed as commercial confidence or trade secret. For example, if you were to ask the formulation of Coca-Cola if it is with the FDA, they would not give it to you because that's something which is commercial confidence, and if they gave it to you, it would hurt their competitive interest. But 2 conditions have to be satisfied. It should be in the nature of commercial confidence, and it should harm somebody's competitive position. Going from that, can Indian Railways claim this? Yes or no?
No.
Why? They can't have commercial confidence.
Monopoly.
Monopoly. Absolutely dead right. They have no competition. Can Air India claim this?
No.
Yes. Air India has competition. 2 elements must be satisfied. It should be of a nature of commercial confidence and somebody's competitive interest should be heard. If you ask for a tender, after it is awarded, you say I want prices of all the competitors. They can't deny it because once the tender has been awarded, nobody's competitive interest can be heard. Every tenderer may say it's my commercial confidence. But once he's given it, Once the tender is awarded. Before the tender is awarded, of course, people can claim our competitive interest will be hurt.
What about like an investigative report by government authorities? Like for example, RTI does investigations on companies. If somebody wants to access that report.
Let's just run through this then, because you'll be anticipating something. And information available to a person in his fiduciary relationship. How many of you think you know what fiduciary means?
Pati
Yes,
Patni.
please.
Good faith, fiduciary in good faith.
In good faith. So any action done in good faith is fiduciary. No.
Relation between Pati Patni.
Sorry?
Relation between Pati Patni.
I can't say
The relation between husband and wife is
Okay, let me. A normal term associated with fiduciary is trust. Good faith as we use. But it goes beyond this. Everything done in trust. Right now we all have trust that nobody is going to pick up a gun and start shooting. But that we are not in a fiduciary relationship. A standard fiduciary relationship is lawyer-client, banker-customer, doctor-patient. These are standard fiduciary relationships. What are the key elements of this fiduciary relationship? Information is provided by somebody with lesser knowledge to someone with higher knowledge in a particular subject for his or her benefit. I go to a doctor for my benefit and I give information regarding my health for my benefit. It is to be used for my benefit. B. I have a choice who to go to. I can go to any doctor I please. I can go to any lawyer I please. There is no law that forces me to give this information to them. I can go to my lawyer, I may have committed a crime and say I didn't commit the crime. And I am breaking no law. And there is an element of trust. Yes, I will not go to a doctor, lawyer, banker if I don't trust them. So I have an account in Bank of India. If you go and tell Bank of India, give me the account details of Mr. Gandhi, it will not be given because bank holds it in a fiduciary relationship. But everything is not. Somebody mentioned some reports.
Sir, about income tax also they are giving the same region,
Nonsense. As the law goes, this is nonsense. And incidentally on fiduciary, I have a lot of differences with most courts on a lot of interpretations. But on this, the Supreme Court of India and I think alive. 10 decisions of mine to RBI audit reports and so on were being denied. List of defaulters, audit reports, warnings given to banks were being denied saying fiduciary. The bank has no option but to give the information to RBI. There is no choice they have. The RBI is not expected to operate in the benefit of the bank. The RBI is there to regulate all banks. It is not, whether they trust them or not. Income tax, as you said, fiduciary. Even if you think that income tax officer is chore, you have to give your income tax return, whether you like it or not. You have no option. There is no choice at all. In all fiduciary relationships, there is an element of choice. And fiduciary relationship is one way. For example, if the government gives some information to the Advocate General, the Advocate General holds it in the fiduciary capacity. But the advice that the Advocate General gives the government is not held in a fiduciary capacity. If a lawyer gives me advice, I can go and show it to 10 people. I am under no obligation not to show it. If a doctor gives me some prescription or advice, I can go and show his thing to 10 people. So therefore it's a one-way relationship, the fiduciary relationship. But like I told you, if I go to a bank and give my information, that's fiduciary. If I go to, let's say, a government hospital and I give information regarding my health, that's fiduciary. Information received with confidence from foreign government. This is the only place, I asked a little while back whether confidential information can be given. The only place in section 8.1 where the word confidence or confidentiality comes about is in 8.1f. If information is received from a foreign government and the PRO says this will be given in confidence, one has to respect that. I think in the Rafale deal also, if I am not mistaken, they are claiming that the French government has said this is confidential. In my opinion, that's an illegal contract. Because the agreement was made on my behalf. unless something is permitted. It's like saying you and I have an agreement and I give you money and you say usko jaake maar dalo. So that agreement is null and void in law. But yeah, okay. Okay. This was big breaking news at one point in time. I think it was 2006 or 7. There was a forest minister of Maharashtra, a former forest minister, not an actual ruling at that time, but former forest minister, Surup Singh Naik Haria. The Supreme Court had given a decision in another case that no sawmills could be permitted within forests, or maybe within 5 kilometers of the forest. I'm not sure the detail. Mr. Surup Singh Haria and his secretary in the government had been giving permissions around and collecting money. I'm guessing they were collecting money. I have no evidence of that, but obviously they were collecting money. This matter went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court held them guilty of contempt of court and sentenced Surup Singh Haria and the minister and the secretary to 1 month in jail. Surup Singh Haria was taken promptly to Thane prison, and there is a pain that a lot of people feel when they are taken to prison, especially the powerful and the rich. What pain is it? Chest pain. Which side of the chest? Left side. Left side of the chest. It's a tradition. So actually, Surup Singh Haria thought I was also follow the tradition. So he also said, "Chhati mein dard ho raha hai." He was promptly taken to JJ hospital, put in a big nice hall. They air conditioned, they said the ICU hai, and they kept him there. After 3-4 days, newspapers were reporting that he's faking it. I mean, he's just spending his time in air conditioned comfort. After 5th or 6th day, I filed an RTI application saying I want the medical records of Surup Singh Haria. Now, medical records are normally exempt. I would not even ask for it, and it should not be given. But I had argued that here there is a belief that he is ducking prison and doing this. Therefore, if you release the reports, if the reports show that he actually deserves to be there, then people will have greater faith in government. And otherwise, you should give it. And he's a convict, not a normal citizen. This was a long drawn out affair. At the end, ultimately the information was given. And the Bombay High Court also, because he went to court challenging the Commissioner's decision, the Bombay High Court also ruled in my favor. And a great surprise, on a similar matter of much lesser intensity, the same judge 10 years later refused to give information. But that's a different story. Okay. Information, the disclosure of which would endanger the life or physical safety of any person, or identify the source of information or assistance given in confidence for law enforcement security purposes. If somebody has given information to a police, let's say about a drug mafia or terrorist activity or whatever, and you say that give me a copy of that information, it will endanger somebody's life or somebody's physical safety. But government servants are known to use this also. Fiduciary is the most common, very popular with government servants. The truth is, most government servants also don't know what is fiduciary, and most citizens also don't know what is fiduciary. So, नहीं समझ में आया fiduciary डाल दो, citizens also says कुछ होगा यार fiduciary, ये तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आता. Therefore, when somebody says fiduciary, take a careful look at it. And information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Do you think while an investigation is ongoing, this says you can give information or cannot give information? No, does this law say this? Or it's your mercy? What does the law say? Parliament used the word impede. Parliament knew it could have said when investigation is ongoing, information cannot be given. Parliament did not say that. The word used by Parliament was impede. So somebody will have to show how giving information will impede the process of investigation or apprehension of prosecution of somebody. If an impediment cannot be shown, information has to be provided. In dozens of cases, I ask for information, you provide it. Wherever they said investigation chal raha hai, and I know that you all are aware, there are investigations in government that go on for 5 years and 10 years, indefinite. Investigation chal raha hai. Investigation being ongoing cannot be a ground for refusal. Somebody has to show how it will impede. If you can show it how it will impede, then of course you can deny information.
सर लेकिन आजकल जितनी जो जांच एजेंसी है,
हाँ जी,
जो जांच एजेंसी है सीबीआई जो है, वो कहती है जब तक जांच पूरी नहीं हो जाएगी हम आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं देंगे।
ओके, और सीबीआई,
वो कहते हैं कि इससे
मेरी बात सुन लीजिए, CBI has opted out of RTI by what I believe is an illegal. See, there is a section in the law which says if certain intelligence and security agencies do not have to give information on the RTI. What has happened is government has included CBI in that. I passed an order when I was there saying CBI is not an intelligence or security agency and therefore must give information. They went to High Court, got a stay, and that stay remains so far. So here they are claiming that we are exempt completely from RTI. Security and intelligence agencies are supposed to be relieved of RTI.
but the police, why there is a difference between police and the CBI?
Yes, police cannot say that, CBI can. Really speaking, they are a police force at law.
Both are same.
I have only this I have passed a decision, but that's been challenged and it stayed in court. And cabinet papers including records of deliberations of the councils of ministers, secretaries and other officers. But there is a great caveat to this. Provided that decisions of councils of ministers, the reasons thereof and the material of the basis of which the decisions were taken shall be made public after the decision has been taken and over and the matter is complete or over. This is the only clause in which at a particular time it says government has to disclose suo motu. When the matter is complete or over, they must disclose this. Interesting thing again came up. There was a bill which was being presented by the government earlier and it was presented to Parliament. Discussions were going on and somebody said, I want a copy of the cabinet note based on which this bill was presented. PR used this. He said, no, this is cabinet note, cannot be given. The applicant argued that the matter of the cabinet note, what is the purpose of the cabinet note? It was to help cabinet decide whether to place this bill in Parliament or not. Once the bill is placed in Parliament, it's Parliament's property, the matter is completely over as far as the cabinet note is concerned. Therefore, it should be given. And I issued an order saying that this should. In fact, I had gone one step next and said, this provides within some days, the moment you submit the bill, within 7 days, you must put up the reasons, cabinet notes, everything on the website. This was Atomic Energy Division. They did that, followed my directive. 6 months later, they went and got a stay order from the High Court, saying, no, we won't put up later things, which is again, it's pending in the High Court. The courts do a very phenomenal job of ensuring that a lot of things cannot operate.
So when we ask for information and the PRO says that it is confidential or it is a fiduciary relationship.
No, two different things. Confidential, wrong.
So my question is, do we get that on paper or we just believe the
No, you get it on paper. So there is an appeal process. I will just come to that. There is a process of appeals. 8.1J, the most popular exemption ever is 8.1J. Information which relates to personal information, the disclosure of which has no relationship to any public activity or interest, or which would cause unwarranted invasion of the privacy of the individual, unless the PR is satisfied that larger public interest justifies the disclosure of that information. There is a caveat to this. There is a proviso to this. Provided that the information which cannot be denied to Parliament or state legislature shall not be denied to any person. What information can be denied? If it is personal information, it qualifies to be considered in 8.1J. All personal information is not barred as per this law, which has no relationship to any public activity. Most records of the government are to do with the public activity. Whatever you give to government is a public activity, it's not a private activity, it's not an activity between you and your wife. Or which would be unwarranted invasion of the privacy of an individual. Now the problem is your privacy has not been defined. And we have now a great judgment given by 9 judges of the Supreme Court. In a 547-page judgment given by 9 judges, they say privacy is a fundamental right, but we will not tell you what privacy is. That's the truth, and I'm not joking. 9 judges said 547 pages they waste. But क्या privacy हम नहीं बोलेगा. So today a lot of people are interpreting privacy in various ways. I would in fact submit that it should be subjected to Article 19(2), which says decency or morality. The only 2 words that take with privacy is decency or morality. And this is also in line with earlier Supreme Court judgments. And there is this proviso, provided that information which cannot be denied to the Parliament or a state legislature shall not be denied to any person. What does this mean? This means that whoever is denied information must make a subjective assessment that I would deny this information to Parliament or state legislature. This is not being done. The law is being violated, the Constitution of India is being violated, but I wish we were all to insist. Wherever, if somebody denies information to under 8(1)(j), hold him and say, sir, will you deny this information to Parliament or state legislature? Notwithstanding anything in the Official Secrets Act or any of the exemptions permissible according to subsection 1, a public authority may allow access to information if public interest in disclosure outweighs the harm to the protected interest. But this is very difficult to establish and it's a highly subjective matter. But public interest needs to be shown only if it is exempt. The exemption must be established. Only then somebody can ask you, then you will have to give reasons as to how public lies is a larger public interest. In a few cases you will be able to establish it. In most cases it is very difficult to establish larger public interest. Now here is a clause that most journalists should look at carefully. Subject to the provisions of clauses A, C and I, any information relating to any occurrence, event or matter which has taken place or happened 20 years before the date on which request is made under section 6 shall be provided to any person making a request under that section. After 20 years, only 3 exemptions remain. It is like Amitabh Bachchan's 50-50. This is 70-30. Only 3 exemptions remain. All 7 exemptions go. For journalists, if you dig up things that happened 25 years back, 30 years back, 40 years back, several of those exemptions will not remain. You may have to fight a battle. And if you get information of that nature, that would be a national breaking story. A true national story. There are journalists abroad in USA, for example, journalists are very big users of RTI. Journalists and corporates are the biggest users, not citizens. In India, journalists are not using it very much. They are using it marginally because everyone says, I need a story tomorrow. Fine, do that. But keep thinking of something that would interest people. And you have journalist roles which says, this is newsworthy, this interests. And start digging. Once a week, sit down and spend half an hour, find one RTI application. That's all you need to do. And pursue 1 or 2 things which have happened 30 or 40 years back. Use this and say only AC and I will apply. You will have to give me information. Even personal information would have to be given once 20 years are over. Section 11. Where a PIO intends to disclose any information or record thereof or request made under the Act which relates to or has been supplied by a third party and has been treated as confidential by that third party, the PIO shall within 5 days from the receipt of the request give a written notice to such if information has been given by a private party to the government. And if the PIO feels this needs to be given, because he must tell third party that I intend to disclose. And if a third party objects, he cannot deny the information just because the third party is objected. He must, and such submission of the third party shall be kept in view while taking a decision about disclosure of information. Therefore, it is not a veto given to a third party. It has to be treated carefully. A third party is given an opportunity of showing which exemption applies. In simple terms, that is it. There are many PRs who say this is third party information, hence I won't give it to you. Not as per the law. Okay, first appeal. Supposing you are not satisfied with the response of the PIO, or he doesn't respond to you at all, what do? I file a first appeal. to the first appellate authority. The PRO, when he rejects my application or does not give me information, is supposed to tell me who the first appellate authority is. If he doesn't tell me, what do? I can file the first appeal, care of Public Information Officer, to the same address, and say that you were supposed to give me the details of the first appellate authority. Since you have not done this, it's now your responsibility to forward it to the first appellate authority. In Maharashtra, the fee is 20 rupees. Central government, there is no fee for first appeal. The first appellate authority must give you a decision in 30, which you can stretch up to 45 days. In 45 days, if you get no response or do not get a satisfactory response, then you go to the Information Commission. For state government bodies, you go to the State Information Commission. For central government bodies, you go to the Central Information Commission. This will be put up so you can take some of these details from the. We'll be putting this up on the website, right? This presentation will be put up on the website. Okay. Section 20 is the teeth of the Act. That's the only reason this law works. Section 20 says if information is denied to a citizen without reasonable cause by a public information officer, the public information officer is liable to be penalized at the rate of 250 rupees per day of delay with a maximum cap of 25,000 rupees. This is the reason why this law works. We have lots of laws of this nature which don't work. Because of the penalty provision, this law works. There is a threat that, and mind you, since the day the Constitution of India was made, we have not had any law where one individual citizen can hold a government officer accountable. Today, if a major catastrophe hits Mumbai and 1 lakh of us connected Azad Maidan, the best that will happen is a government officer may get transferred. Here is a law that recognizes the sovereignty of the Indian state, the sovereignty of the individual citizen. Use the word Lokshahi in Hindi. Lokshahi means logo ki shahenshaahi. You, sir, should feel like a bacha when you approach the government. You, ma'am, should feel like a beggar when you approach the government. It doesn't happen. This recognizes that and says, just as a monarch or a sovereign, if he or she is insulted, the individual will have to pay. Here, one person sitting in a hut has sought information without reasonable cause, PR is not given, he should be penalized. Section 22 is extremely important. The provisions of this Act shall have effect notwithstanding anything inconsistent therewith contained in the Official Secrets Act and any other law for the time being in force or any instrument having effect by virtue of any law. In effect, what it says is no law. They cannot say Indian Evidence Act says like this, Registrar of Cooperative Societies Act says like this, Supreme Court rules say like this. This law overrides all other laws as far as giving of information is concerned. And I repeat, information is what is on record, keep that in mind. That means, RTI application, information in 30 days. If no information provided or unsatisfactory response, first appeal to be filed within 30 days of response or 60 days in case of no response. First appellate authority, hearing order within 45 days. Generally, the first appellate authority should give you a hearing where you can go and argue your case. But it is not necessary to go. It's your choice whether you want to go. If unsatisfactory order or no response, second appeal to commission within 90 days. Now, format. This is a format of application for Maharashtra. And this I am describing to you, I am giving you the detail of one of the very famous cases of RTI. And this story has been repeated thousands of times across this country. There was a very poor boy from Bihar, 21 years age, 7th standard pass, who came to Mumbai to get a job and to get employment. Where was he staying? He was staying in a jhopda with his chacha. He was going around and there was an RTI workshop in the Basti. People like me conduct workshops in Bastis, offices, clubs, everywhere. This boy had nothing to do, so he sat down, understood what is information, understood that he does not need any form, understood that all he needs is a 10 rupee court fee stamp which he can stick on any paper, that he can file an RTI application, handwritten or computer or typewritten. Having understood all this, he moved on. After a few days, he got a job. Then he needed something that all citizens do, particularly those who are poor and staying in huts, a ration card. So he went to the rationing office, filed his rationing application, and as he was going out, the crew met him at the door and said, "Aapko ration card chahiye kya?" He said, "हाँ भाई, इसलिए तो फॉर्म भरा." The crew said, "चाय पानी लगेगा." This boy said, "ठीक है, आपको चाय पिला दूंगा." The crew said, "चाय पिलाने की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ." तो इसे फिर क्या बात कर रहे हैं? इसे 2000 रुपए देना पड़ेगा. And this boy, without batting an eyelid, said, "मैं घूस नहीं दूंगा." The crew shrugged and said, "लालू जी यहाँ से आता है, बुद्धू है, बेवकूफ है, क्या इसको अकल है, मालूम पड़ जाएगा कैसे उसको राशन कार्ड मिलेगा." This boy went away. The crew was expecting he would keep coming back. He never came back. The Muslims started asking others who had come from village and who applied for ration cards. They were all paying and getting their ration cards in about 40-45 days. This boy continued doing his job for about 2.5 to 3 months. And then he filed an RTI application, which I am converting it to an English format. Now, what you want to know is why have I not got my ration card? If he had asked that, he would have got no response. Because nothing written कि इसने चाय पानी नहीं दिया, इसके लिए इसको ration card नहीं दिया. Very interestingly, he said, "I had given an application for a ration card on 5th August 2006, photocopy of receipt attached. I want the following information about its progress in the following format. Names and designations of officers who dealt with it and dates of movement of the application. Attested photocopies of all letters and notings will be provided. I want a list of ration cards issued in the last 3 months, giving the dates on which the applications were made and the dates on which the ration cards were issued." This is something on record. If they had given this, they would have had to say that they have given ration cards to others in 40-45 days and not given it to him. What they would have say, एक table पे ये पड़ा है application, it hasn't moved at all because चाय पानी नहीं मिला. Next day, the crew came to his house and said, "साहब ने बुलाया आपको." He went to the rationing office. The rationing officer said, "अरे इनके लिए कुर्सी लेके आओ और इनका राशन कार्ड लेके और 1 कप चाय और 1 गिलास पानी लेके आओ." He did not give chai pani, he got chai pani instead, and to me that cup of tea represents respect for the individual sovereign citizen of this nation. That is what this poor boy achieved. This kind of technique has been used for ration cards, for water connections, for income tax refunds, very successfully. Now I am also showing you something which, this was my own RTI application. On a particular day, I saw on the first page of Times of India a big photograph, page 1, showing photograph of people demonstrating at Marine Drive because they were protesting against a rape by police constable More of a minor girl. Rightly so. On page 5, there was a small news item. This small news item said, "Police Inspector Prakash Amre of Mumbai Police had raped a minor the earlier year." Evidence was very clear. He was suspended from service. Case went to court. The court discharged him because they were not able to give enough evidence to satisfy the court. Police Inspector Prakash Amre was being reinstated in service. On the same day that people were demonstrating about a police constable, a police inspector was being reinstated in service. I filed this RTI application. Description of the information required. According to news reporting, Times of India dated 29th April 06, Inspector Prakash Amre is accused of raping a minor girl in 2005. He was acquitted by the Sessions Court in February and has been reinstated in service. I want a photocopy of the order reinstating him along with 5 notings based on which the decision was taken. If I had said, "Isko kyun rakh rahe ho, nahi rakhna chahiye," all that is not RTI. I was only asking for a copy of the letter by which he had been reinstated, expecting that we publicize this letter and we publicize the fact that the PIO refused. So I filed a first appeal. I am showing you the first appeal to explain also how you can file a first appeal. Grounds for appeal. Facts of the case. I had asked for information regarding reinstatement of Inspector Prakash Amre as per that application. The PIO first sent me a letter stating that the information would be provided by Bhaikala police station. The PIO Bhaikala replied by his letter of so and so that the information could not be provided since it was exempted under section 81H, which exempts information which would impede the process of investigation or apprehension or prosecution of offenders. Grounds for appeal. The PIO has not shown how providing the information would impede any investigation. In fact, no investigation is being held since Prakash Amre has been reinstated. The rejection is without any basis in law. I went for this first appellate hearing, and why I'm describing this is, okay, this is how you get facts of the case, why are you fighting, what is your argument? I tell you very briefly. There was a very good Deputy Commissioner of Police who was present in the first appellate authority, and he said, Mr. Gandhi, what can we do? The court has released him. What is in our hands? I said, sir, in my opinion, I am only asking for a copy of the letter. To get a copy of the letter, we'll be able to see who took such a decision to reinstate him. And from my perspective, either Prakash Avre was guilty. If he was guilty, putting him back in that position is very dangerous for society and for the city. And if he was not guilty, then somebody framed him. Hold him responsible. You are not holding anyone responsible. He saw the point, and in 20 days, I got a letter from the police saying, Police Inspector Prakash Avre has been dismissed from service. That is the power of right to information that any one individual citizen sitting in their own house can achieve. Okay, summary, application and appeals in specified format, application fee 10 rupees, for the first and second appeals, rupees 20. Most convenient way is to affix court fee stamps. Set application, appeal by speed post, you may do that. You can go and give it personally there, take a chapa of the photocopy of your application. Alternately, send it by speed post, keep a copy of the speed post tracking report, and that's your evidence that was given. Online RTI application, the first appeal can be filed at this place. Some people have opted to show this. BMC in its arrogance said we won't join this. So they refused to take RTI application right now. Second appeal, I've given the format. And this will be on the website, don't worry, you do not necessarily take photograph. Central government, no specified format for application than first appeals, useful to use the Maharashtra format. Application fee rupees 10, most convenient to now, court fee stamp is not valid for central government authorities. You have to take a 10 rupee Indian postal order which is available at most post offices and attach it to your RT application. No fees for appeals. For second appeal, please check rules at so and so. Online RT application of central government can be filed here. When you file an online application, you can pay by credit card, and there are also one or two other methods you can pay for. Detailed explanations of the law. This is a book I have written, which hopefully all of you have got. In case somebody's come late and not got it, you will pick it up from the this there.
So,
Yes?
the RTI replies, are they available on some government website?
Wonderful question. They should be. Well, most of them did not put up. We had a campaign of sorts, a very interesting campaign where we said citizens will call up cooperators individually. So about 15-20 people started this game. And they would tell them, you are saying there is blackmail, etc. Put up all RTI, and there is a DOPT circular, there is a Maharashtra government circular. That they should be put up on the website. The present position is, PMC has agreed. The resolution was put in the House by Alka Kerkar. Navi Mumbai, Thane, and Mira Bhayandar, and I believe a few others. Now the tragedy is, if they just put up RT applications and responses, you will not be able to find any sense out of it. And there is a very good IT company with whom I am trying to develop a software so that you could make sense out of this, even if they put it up. But that's the big challenge, getting it implemented. And once we have the software, we'll seek the help of everyone to say, let us force the municipal corporations and government of Maharashtra to put it up. If that happens, you can get a lot of information if it's been asked for before. And there's some issue about blackmail. Nobody can blackmail if information is available on the website. Find out the address. Again, this is, go through this please. This will be on the website by when?
कई जगह देखने में आया है कि इस समय जो इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफिसर है वो ये कहते हैं कि भाई आप RTI पुलिस की बात सही है लेकिन आपके पास कोई आई कार्ड है क्या? तो ऐसी स्थिति में आप बताएं कि क्या
तो फिर आपको बॉम्बे में चलने को भी आई कार्ड पूछना शुरू कर देंगे। आपको बोलने के पहले भी रजिस्ट कीजिए, कहिए ये आप गलत बोल रहे हैं, गैर कानूनी बोल रहे हैं, ये कानून हम इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे आप पे। सरकारी अफसर जैसे कहता है कानून के हिसाब से काम कीजिए, आप कहिए सर आपको कानून से काम करना पड़ेगा।
दूसरा सवाल ये है कि इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफिसर का ये भी कहना है और गवर्नमेंट बीएमसी और बीएमसी के दूसरे डिपार्टमेंट बीएसटी या दूसरे राशनिंग डिपार्टमेंट के ऑफिसरों का कहना है कि भाई जब आपको हमने इंफॉर्मेशन दे दिया तो आप अपील पे क्यों गए, आप ये सादा एप्लीकेशन करके भी इंफॉर्मेशन ले सकते थे। ऐसी स्थिति में क्या होगा पोजीशन?
तो बोली ये सही बात है, ये यही होना चाहिए हकीकत में। I'll give you one simple example of United States of America. अमेरिका में if a immigrant, not even a citizen of America, from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, China, has applied for the green card or citizenship of America, अमेरिका की citizenship के लिए अप्लाई किया हो, तो वो बड़े प्यार से फोन उठा के पूछ लेता है मेरी एप्लीकेशन का क्या हुआ, उसमें कुछ लोग सही है नहीं, ठीक ठाक है, कब कंसिडर होगी, कब कुछ रिजल्ट मिलेगा। 99% उसको ठीक से जवाब मिलेगा दूसरी तरफ से। आप सब भारत के फर्स्ट रेट नागरिक हैं, अगर आपने राशन कार्ड में एड्रेस चेंज करने के लिए अर्जी की हो and you don't get a response, none of you will pick up the phone to ask. You have phones, but you are so sure कि अगर फोन पे पूछूंगा तो कोई जवाब ही नहीं देगा। इवन जाके जवाब, ये टेलीफोन टेस्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है जो आनी चाहिए। उनको कहिए सर हम फोन करेंगे आपको, आप जवाब देंगे, और अगर देंगे तो हम आरटीआई नहीं करेंगे।
So if you display the applications online, will it compromise the safety and security of the journalist, or will it safety and security of the journalist? Display the application, right? Sir, if you display the applications online, can it be abused by the authorities?
That way. Okay, no, fair enough. And this is what I said earlier also, you probably coming late. Everyone dislikes transparency for themselves, including the citizen. I think there is really no problem even today. For things which they want to inform people, they are informing people. It is not that because you put it online. In fact, when you put it online, the chances are much less that anything will happen to you. When you don't put it online, the municipal officer or the other officer goes and tells somebody, "ये देख तेरे बारे में RTI आया है," and this is very common. They tell illegal building है, they tell the builder, तुम इसके साथ settle करो, and उसको उसका commission रहता है, वो आधा 2 मिनट डिवाइड करते हैं. Putting it online, and I would also submit that we as citizens must be prepared to be transparent if you want something to happen, otherwise it will not happen. Transparency is a two-way street. I will insist that you should be transparent. I also must be willing to be transparent.
महाराष्ट्र का एक चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमीशन का कहना था कि एक ऑफिसर जो है 32 साल से एक ही डिपार्टमेंट में पड़ा हुआ था, उसने मुझे जवाब में कहा कि भाई आपको इनका चेहरा पसंद नहीं है क्या?
तो अब ये देखिए बात करना,
मैं वही मुद्दे की बात बता रहा हूँ। मैं आप चीफ महाराष्ट्र का चीफ इंफॉर्मेशन कमिश्नर की बात है। फिलहाल वो आदमी रिटायर हो चुका है, लेकिन जब जाते हैं तो रास्ते बदल लेते हैं। कहने का मेरा मतलब ये है कि इस तरह की जो केसेस आते हैं उसको कैसे सॉल्व किया जा सकता है।
ओके, सिंपल चीज मैं बताऊं, देश में क्या क्या खराब है और किस किस तरह से सरकारी अफसर ठीक नहीं काम करते हैं, ये चाहे तो हम रात भर बात करते रहेंगे। इनफैक्ट मीडिया को यही रोज की बात मिलती है, नई नई ब्रेकिंग न्यूज आती रहती है। अगर हमें ये देखना है कि हम क्या करेंगे इस स्थिति में, अगर हम दबाव बनाए रखेंगे, अगर हम लोग सिंपल, एक मेरा एक ऑब्जर्वेशन है, मोस्ट इंडियन सिटीजंस स्क्रिप्ट फॉर अबाउट 3 to 4 hours एवरी मंथ अबाउट व्हाट इज रॉन्ग। ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, वो अफसर ऐसा है, रास्ते पे खड्डे हैं, वो चीफ मिनिस्टर ऐसा है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऐसा है, वगैरह वगैरह। ये आलोचना करने से कुछ नहीं बदलेगा, बदलता भी नहीं है, ना बदलने की उम्मीद है। सजेशन ये है, महीने में एक बार अगर हम पढ़ लें कि हम एक RTI की अर्जी करेंगे, जिस चीज में मुझे ठीक नहीं लग रहा है, किस तरह से RTI से करूं, ये सक्सेसफुल हो जाएगा ऐसे नहीं कह रहा हूं। मेरा अन्वेषण ये है कि अबाउट 30% ऑफ द टाइम्स कभी इंफॉर्मेशन ना भी दी हो, बट सरकार में थोड़ा सा कुछ बदलाव आता है। 30%। अगर 30 लाख लोग इस देश के नागरिक खड़े हो जाएं और कहे कि हम हर महीने एक RTI की अर्जी करेंगे, पढ़ ले लें, 3.5 करोड़ बार अगर ये RTI की अर्जी हुई और 1 करोड़ बार अगर सरकार में थोड़ा सा भी बदलाव आया, देश बदल जाएगा 5 साल में। फिर भी कुछ लोग कहते हैं शैलेश भाई कुछ नहीं होगा, इंडिया का कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता है, मैंने 2 बार ट्राई किया, ये नहीं हुआ, वगैरह वगैरह। इनसे मैं ये कहता हूं कि हमारे जैसे कई लोग मंदिर, मस्जिद, गिरजाघर, चर्च वगैरह में जाते हैं, शायद दिन में एक बार, हफ्ते में एक बार, महीने में एक बार, साल में एक बार। कई लोग जाते होंगे, सब नहीं जाते होंगे। जब जाके बाहर निकलते हैं तो हमारी जेब में 100 रुपये एक्स्ट्रा होता है क्या? नहीं होता। ऐसा लगता है कि अरे बाल सफेद हो गए थे, काले हो गए, बाल वापस आ गए, आई बिकेम मोर ब्यूटीफुल, आई बिकेम मोर हैंडसम। कुछ नहीं होता है। Why do we do it? We do it as an act of faith. We have faith that by doing this, something good will happen for my family, my society, my nation. You can see no logical link. Logically, you cannot say that by going and doing this, you can't see any connection. Here is something where you can see a connection that by doing something, there is a possibility, small, however small, you can see a logical possibility. श्रद्धा से ही सही हम देश के लिए कुछ करके तो देखें। आजकल नेशनलिस्ट और एंटी नेशनल की बहुत कहानी चलती है। वंदे मातरम गाओ, जन गण मन गाओ। अगर पूरा देश ये तय कर ले एक महीना, एक दिन, कि पूरा देश खड़ा खड़ा जन गण मन और वंदे मातरम गाता रहेगा, खाएंगे नहीं, पिएंगे नहीं, कुछ नहीं करेंगे, 24 घंटा हम ये कर लेंगे, देश में कुछ नहीं बदलेगा। ये इंपॉर्टेंट सिंपल्स है, वर्कवाइज सिंपल्स है। ये नहीं करना, ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ। और देश को बदलना ये हमारी जिम्मेवारी है। अगर इस देश का मैं बादशाह या बेगम हूं तो ये मेरी जिम्मेवारी है कि इस देश को बदलूं। दूसरे किसी की नहीं है, दूसरे कोई देश से कोई आगे नहीं करेगा। और अगर मेरी जिम्मेवारी है तो मैं इसको करूंगा। रिजल्ट क्या आएगा पता नहीं, बट इफ इनफ लोग करेंगे। यस सर।
What happened to that suggestion that if an RTI activist is killed, it's very and the answer should be made public?
It is at the Central Commission we did this, and here also on one occasion there was somebody, I think I forgot where, who had been killed, and Gaikwad issued an order immediately, and the Municipal Commissioner of that, whichever it was, released all the information immediately. Within 24 hours this was done. So in principle this is there, and we only need to keep pressing more and more commissioners to follow this. No, it's not made into a rule. There is no need to make a rule. I mean, if commissioners agree to do it.
शैलेश जी,
हाँ जी। अच्छा एक मिनट। अभी मैं और समीर जी और सुलेमान जी शायद बैठ के एक साथ में सबके सवाल का जवाब दे देंगे। मेरा एक प्रेजेंटेशन का थोड़ा सा लास्ट बिट है, उतना आप थोड़ा धीरे से सुन ले मेरी। And 150 words is more than enough. I have filed hundreds of RTI applications. And most of my RTI applications, the actual information seeking does not exceed 100 words. फोकस करिए क्या चाहिए, फोकस करिए क्या इंफॉर्मेशन मिलने से इसमें कोई बदलाव आएगा, कोई गलत चीज बाहर आ जाएगी। If you do that, you will find RTI an extraordinary. I remember one, as I told you, one person had 17-20 pages in his RTI application. I said, what do you want? नहीं सर, मुझे मिला नहीं जो मुझे चाहिए था। तुम्हें क्या चाहिए? And when he described it was some 15 or 20 words, that's all. 150 words is not a problem, you will do this easily. Now, मेरा yes.
Sir, do you think there should be some agency or some sort of list which should help the people layman because they don't know about the party act and how to implement it?
I am available. The law actually says PIOs must help citizens, but that at this stage of our situation is a little too optimistic to expect, but I am available. And I'll give my number and email ID here. Okay, मेरा भारत महान बहुत जगह बोलते हैं, हम लिखते हैं, टेम्पो ट्रक्स के पीछे भी लिखते रहते हैं मेरा भारत महान, but we don't really believe it, and therefore I say मेरा भारत महान नहीं है, मेरा भारत महान नहीं है, पर ये दोष मेरा है। I the individual sovereign citizen of this nation am responsible. अगर हम सब लोग ये करें, 30 लाख लोगों के जरिए देश के RTI के जरिए और किसी जरिए, if we take it as our responsibility, active citizenship is the way we can actually make a change in this nation. Thank you very much.